all that matters.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. This is awesome.
How do we do
that one? Thanks for being awesome people. Thanks for being on time.
Yeah.
Thanks for being engaged. We're gonna have interaction and with questions for you guys and have some cool strategies and just kind of nail it today. But I want to ask, like, I love getting like any highlights. What's going on? You throw it in the chat box or you can jump on mic, but like, what's going on in your life? What's cool? What's exciting? What's working? What's the highlights from life? What's going on?
What's our highlights?
Our highlights are that I'm upright today. Wow.
Yeah. What happened?
It is. I don't know what happened. It's a rare day, my friends, when I am not feeling like the Energizer Bunny. But I'm on it, man. Oh man. Let's see. Cool. So Emily, start an elimination diet with the husband. Cool. Wait, what's an elimination diet? Sorry. Excuse my ignorance.
So basically it's like eliminating foods that typically cause food intolerance. Mm-hmm. So like peanuts, eggs.
Wait, not peanuts. Like, come on, peanuts are the food group. Sorry. Go ahead, Emily.
So instead you would eat, so like if you like peanut butter, which I do, you would have almond butter instead. Ooh. So it's for 21 days and then you reintroduce each thing back into your diet one at a time to see which one you react to.
Oh, cool.
That is awesome. Oh, I like that.
Great.
Nice. Right on. Good.
You've been kind of doing some what's it called?
Huh?
The fasting
I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, huh?
What's that thing you've been trying?
So I'm doing intermittent fasting. I'm gonna explain. We'll do all that coming up. We'll touch on that stuff. But I'm doing intermittent fasting. I'm doing some ketosis stuff, and I got all kinds of things going. So we'll share all that awesomeness. Any other highlights? Anything else going on? Anybody use some really good pickup lines on your spouse recently? I try those all the time. Most crash and burn, but occasionally I get a good one. Rachel's like, oh.
Oh, no.
At least I get a laugh out of her, a giggle or something.
Yeah.
All right, man. Tiffany's doing her push-ups on camera and some yoga. Gosh, making it all feel like slackers now. I'm just sitting here on a chair. Jeez. There you go, Tiffany. That's awesome. I actually was doing push-ups in a training the other day and air squats and like dips. I'm like, sorry guys, I gotta get this in. It was fun. All right, well, let's get rolling. I do want to follow up. Have you guys anybody implement some sleep strategies from last time? Anyone? Has anyone been sleeping at all? Is anyone with us here? Come on! So no, hopefully you got some sleep strategies in. Like, no, there's no sleep. We still have children. They haven't moved out yet. Okay, Emily's trying but struggling. Okay, let's all keep working on this, friends. We all need sleep.
Process.
It is. Not... Yeah, because you're retraining. Like, okay, can I throw that out there, you guys? Sometimes we think, I gotta get closer to Rachel here. Life is better when I'm closer to Rachel. It's really fascinating. Sometimes we get rolling and we get all these patterns, right? Things we've been picked up from our childhood, and we get all these patterns in place and all these methods and all these habits, things we're used to, and we realize we've trained ourselves into our problems sometimes, right? So maybe we have a problem with, I don't know, like our relationship with food, our relationship with exercise, our relationship with the neighbor that we just can't stand, our relationship with some political view or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like we build ourselves in these relationships and these patterns, and then we realize, like, I don't really like that. It's kind of causing an annoyance. And so we have to like work our way out of that. Right. And that can take some doing, but like totally worth it. Man, got to make it happen. But even in sleep or whatever that pattern is, we're going to work ourselves into new patterns. But what we want, every one of us going like, okay, I can work myself into any new pattern I want, any new mindset, any new habit. I can build that into my life. And you guys, I had to do that tons. I'm telling you, man, if I can do it, anyone can do it, because I had so many unhealthy patterns and mindsets and ideas. I literally had to retrain myself on the holistic approach to life. And because I was willing to do that and I put in the effort, like I feel like I can switch anything in my life. I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I can just switch it.
Right.
So super powerful. Woo! Okay, let me see. Work one job extra late and one job extra early. Oh man. Whoa. Okay, we're sending out some support and love to that. That is tough. Oh, that's tough. Mira say, I'm discovering that the light and temperature are not right, but my spouse isn't wanting me to change it. So it's right for him. It's like those cars, right? The new cars have temperature controls on both sides. You need like a bedroom that has like this divider, like one temperature over here, one over there.
Or,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if it's too much light for you. You can try the beauty masks. That's what I do.
Yeah, to go dark. If you can do that, go dark with the mask. And then maybe even get separate blankets. That would work too. We've done that.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, that's what's interesting. In like Europe, especially Germany, the whole bedroom is set around separate people. So the bed, they have, like
So a king size bed is two separate mattresses.
But it's two separate mattresses and it's two separate blankets.
So it's a different firmness.
So you're not sharing, the Germans figured it out.
They know how to sleep.
They know. They're like,
they darken their rooms. They have the blinds slide down and
yeah.
they black out their rooms. I mean, the Germans
out.
know how to sleep, people.
They do.
We should learn some lessons from them. That's good. See, Kathleen or Ramon, I don't know who's talking here, but made a schedule. Haven't started yet, but we're on it. Okay, sweet. So here's what we're gonna do, my friends, and I'm super excited. I want to hit on today, like getting things done. Ooh, nice. The yoga certification coming up. Nice, Tiffany. Love that. Fantastic. Want to work on getting things done, right? Because successful people, well, there's this kind of a division between people who are consistently succeeding and people who are consistently trying but not quite getting there.
Just as a side note, I added a document in an article in the Facebook group, the Common Denominator of Success. So.
Which is one of my all-time favorite articles. Please read that again and again. Read it to your children and then memorize part of it. We actually have a part of it we memorize as a family.
We'll ask our kids, okay, say that part about habits. And
should we do it? Should we have one of the kids? No, we won't have them come in. We can grab one of our kids and have them come in.
I'm afraid to open the door.
Because then we'll get a whole flood of children. Like, no, not all of you. So Emily already read it. Nice.
Good
yes.
job.
So he says, look, the common denominator of success is that successful people are willing to do the things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do. And
not that they want to do it either.
Right, they don't want to do it, but they just realize they have to do it. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, my friends, like people who are succeeding, they make and keep commitments.
To themselves, most importantly.
Right. And where oftentimes other people, they make commitments, but they don't necessarily keep them. And so years ago, I started this file and I just titled it, Getting It Done. Right. And I just that file has just grown and grown and grown and grown. It was just success strategies of how to actually get things done. So
essentially keeping those commitments to yourself.
Right. How to keep commitments, because they're like, yeah, I have all this. I have a gigantic list of things I want to do. But how do you prioritize that and then actually get things done? So may I ask you a question, please? And we'll give you some reflection time here. Hopefully you got something to write with. I want you to do a little bit of thinking and writing, and then we'll share. The question I want to ask is right now is, what do you really feel is most important in your mission right now? Like in your focus, in your direction, in the achievements you want to have, what do you feel is like most important right now? Like, what are the things, I'm trying to rephrase this different ways so it hits home. Like, what are the one or two things that if you got those done, they would influence everything else in your life? Or what are the things you feel like, man, this matters to me so much, but I haven't been doing it? Like the thing you keep getting up and saying, yeah, that has to happen. And then at the end of the day, you're like, dang, that didn't happen. Right, that thing. And so everyone spend a minute reflecting on it, writing about it. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to ask Rachel to do the same. And then let's share, like, what is that thing that's...
Maybe it's income, maybe it's health, maybe it's
relationships, might
marriage.
be right now. You might be like, you know what? It's my spiritual journey. I gotta get that dialed in. or it's my mindset, or it's my emotional mastery, or whatever it is. So let everyone take a minute. Let's just do like 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, and let's just get dialed in. Like, what's that thing that just seems most important right now in your mission? I'm gonna have Rachel's right mind for me.
Okay. Rachel's right mind.
I have Rachel's right mind for me. You guys ever get to the point when you don't feel very well and your brain feels like a tortoise?
A tortoise. Nice.
It feels like a prehistoric tortoise.
Are those connected or not connected?
Yes, it's one sentence.
I'm like, what does that mean?
Okay. Please keep writing. If you're still getting some clarity on this and writing, please keep going.
Don't pay attention to our conversation.
Yeah, ignore our conversations. But you can share in the chat. You can come on mic and share if you'd like, or you don't have to share. Just keep rolling. But Eve said,
I thought it said content.
Oh.
So I was like, what?
Oh man. Eve said, capturing this time with my children to teach them what will bless them in their futures. Oh, that's beautiful. And I like that imagery, Eve, of capturing the time, because it's like it's running from us, isn't it? It's like, get back here. Schedule is not steady right now. Having a hard time making this happen. Okay. For Tiffany, spiritual growth. Love that. Okay, we'll dive into strategies for all of this. Others, anyone else want to share, either on mic or the chat? What right now is like?
Oh,
okay. Somebody just go.
So what if I have like 4 that I feel like needs to happen all at once?
Can you prioritize them?
Probably.
Go
Okay.
for it. Put them in order.
Question. I know mindset is one. I can say something like, okay, I'm going to earn an extra $1,000 a month or whatever. But it's like, I'm not feeling it. And I think Rachel was talking about that, where you have this and you have this, but they're not connecting, the emotion with the goal. And the other day I was saying, okay, what if I can't tell about the negative self-talk? Well, I think it's just it's more of a feel. It's almost just this in the back of my mind. You can't do this. You can't do this. It's not going to happen. So then I say, well, then I can't set that goal because I know it's not going to happen. And I'm one of those people. If I say it or I put it on my list or I make a goal, then it's like, okay, I'm going to make that happen. So then I resist doing dumb goals because my mind says that can't happen. You're not going to be able to do that. I don't know how to connect the two so that I can have outrageous goals that right now currently are not possible without my mind going, see, that's not going to happen. You can't do that. That's too big.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
Yeah, and Miriam, thanks for articulating that. Yeah, we can relate to that. And I'm sure most people in the group can. It's almost like, okay, I can say that and I can tell myself that. I could even write it down, but I have this inner feeling, this deep belief that it's going, whatever. Right? And until those two get aligned, which is what you just said, then we don't have that explosive power. So
yeah, we'll definitely
keep
cover
going
that.
on that. I love that. Getting the belief lined up with the new thoughts. Mm-hmm. And Miriam, if you have 4 things, I'm going to give you like a personal challenge right now. I want you to order them 1 through 4. Which one's most important? Like has to happen. The non-negotiable.
Well, and kind of what she's saying there.
Is that
maybe
one really?
The mindset, yeah.
Okay, so Lori says creating a
we missed some though.
Oh, sweet, check them out. They're coming in. Thanks, guys. Okay, Aaron says there's a lot I would love to develop a culture of being a disciplined people in our home. Ooh, lucky. I'm taking notes here, friends. So I hope you guys are too.
You want like a real piece of paper?
This is real paper. Culture of family.
In all areas, spirituality, work, serving, optimism, learning better discipline.
Yeah,
Okay,
love that.
awesome.
That is so awesome. Man, hey, I know I've said this before. You guys have heard me say this, but literally culture eats everything else for breakfast, right? Like ultimately at the end of the day, what your family culture is what will happen. Because you can be like, hey kids, we're going to do this and we're going to try this and all this stuff.
And this is important.
But yeah, these are and we can put up charts on the wall and we can do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, our family culture will always win out. Like what becomes automatic or habitual, the pattern, whatever's there, that always wins. Always, always, always. So we can talk about until we're blue in the face. We can talk about how important something is. But if our family culture isn't aligned with that and supporting that, won't happen. Culture is like king. We have to get that lined up.
So we'll talk about that.
That's huge.
Okay, let's see. Taking consistent action towards career goals that we're working on.
Love it.
Very good. Yeah, consistent action. It's key.
We're going to talk about that today.
Okay. Lori says, create passive income, lose weight, and eat healthy.
Love it. Fantastic.
I think that's good because you'll see here with what we're going to talk about and going along with common denominator of success, no matter what it is our goal, no matter what our goal is, it all comes down to some key elements, and that's what we're going to cover.
Action steps.
Kathleen, eliminating the chaos at home, getting everyone to help out more instead of adding to the mess, and just trying to get things running smoothly. I feel like I'm always behind in everything, and I don't know where to start. Also, learning to find the balance and letting go of what is really not important at the moment. Yes, absolutely. I think we do a whole class on that for moms.
I think we do a whole class on all of these. These are awesome, you guys. Thanks for sharing these. It's so good. I think, well, we're going to get into this more, but I want to just kind of touch on it here. One of the biggest distractors to really getting things done, and you guys I'm sure can relate to this, is being so busy taking care of all of other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just doing all these things. You're just going and going and going. And like this big list of things. And like she said, like I always feel behind, right? Like I'm never getting ahead in this thing. What is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually one of the biggest things that prevents us from getting the most important things done.
Mary says, hear you, Kathleen. Yep. Okay.
How
So how do we change family culture? Okay.
We'll get into that
Talk
a
about
lot.
that. Determining what I need to eat in order to feel awesome.
Yep.
Can't remember the last time I felt awesome. If I eat great stuff, I will be able to achieve my financial goals and I'll be able to wake up early.
Yes. Love that connection, Emily. So
figure out how to take care of my health while taking care of my family and running and growing my business. Yep.
Woo! Okay.
Okay, these are all amazing.
Now somebody else was trying to jump
excited.
on. Somebody else was trying to jump on Mike. Who else?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody else wanted to share on Mike. If you want to share on Mike, jump on, please.
And then let's dive in.
Okay.
Maybe they shared in the comments. Oh, it was me. Okay, yeah, Emily.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay,
got it.
great.
Okay. Woohoo! So, with all this stuff, thanks you guys. I love that, and I hope you kind of got some clarity there. So what has to happen?
Well, and this is awesome because like we can sincerely tell you that we felt every one of those. Like we've been there. We know exactly what you're talking about. We've had those struggles. We still have some of those struggles. And so it's real, but there are definitely things that you can do to change it, make improvements. And that's why we're here, of course, because there are things you can do. There are actions you can take. There are things you can implement in your life that make it easy. Well, yeah, easier.
No,
I'm going to say that.
Say it, yeah.
Yeah, it does make it easier. That being said, though, the interesting thing about growth and improvement is that there's always another level. So even when you grow and improve and you make things easier, then you see, oh, there's another level. And so then there's a struggle to get to the next level, right?
Yep. It's the path of mastery. We taught you guys about this before, the path of mastery, right? As you're growing, there's always another climb, and then it settles back for a little bit. You kind of get on a plateau and you're growing. And every time you guys, as we get better at something, and every one of you is like phenomenal at super things. You have your superpowers. Every one of you has superpowers. And you could all be giving us a class on your superpower. And you're like, you can do this, and it's easy for me. And we're like, how is that easy for you? Like, I can barely do that, right? But as we get better at things, okay, Emerson said it like this. He said, the things we persist in doing become easier.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the nature of the thing has changed, but that our ability to do is increased. Isn't that beautiful? Whoa.
And then what
capture
happens,
that idea, because it's going to be so important.
And what also happens is that we'll tend to focus on one area in our life and make improvements in that area. And then we realize, okay, well, this area of our life needs focus. And so it's like we go through this process of improvement and increasing our skills, but then we do that over and over and over again in every area of our life. So it's this continual process of improving in all areas of our life.
And we have so many different areas. If you guys could see like a big wheel with all these spokes, and each spoke is an important thing in our life we have to do. And unfortunately, you can't do all of them at once. You really got to pick something. Anybody in here read the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin? I can't see all of you. Okay, Eve's read it. I love his story. He starts out as a young man, goes out on his own. Like he had kind of a rough go early on, and he really had all these experiences. And then he got real thoughtful about it, intentional. He says he picked 13 virtues that he wanted to have in his life. And so he just spent a lot of time thinking and writing about it. He wrote down the 13 virtues. And he's like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work on one of these each week. And I'm just going to focus on that thing, think on that thing, work on that thing. I'm going to improve that virtue in my life for a full week. And then he'd switch to the next. And he'd go through it for a 13-week cycle and then start over. And so he was just making incremental improvements in each of those areas. And we can do the same. Say, hey, man, these are the things that matter to me. I'm going to make incremental improvements and kind of make some focus. And you might fit that into like a weekly schedule where every week or a monthly, a weekly or monthly schedule, you're making progress in the important areas of your life. And we'll kind of get into how to make that happen. What I wanted to say, as Rachel was saying, we've been through this, is you guys, we took off when we were young parents and we had 4 little kids. So literally right after our 4th was born, we got in our car and we drove the Pan American Highway down to Costa Rica. And part of the Pan American Highway was still like a Jeep trail back then. And border crossings are insane. And what happened is we added pressure. So when you take a normal family dynamic with all the things that are going on and you add insane amounts of pressure, like I like the pipe analogy. Like when you add pressure to a pipe, you quickly find out where the leaks are, right? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? You put in your new sprinkler system and you're like, let's just crank up the pressure here. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, I know where the leaks are. And that was actually, it was huge for us. It was extremely helpful because adding the pressure of international travel to all your already normal family situations, like it points out where you need to get some work done fast. Like, there's a leak. It's got to be taken care of right now. Like it quickly becomes a priority. And so we put ourselves through this pressurized system, a self-inflicted pressurized system, so we could learn these things quickly. And
we did that for like a decade.
Yeah. That was a decade of awesome. And so
but it helped us to grow, really.
Yeah, tons. And so some of you experienced that. Like Aaron and Lindsay just moved to Guatemala. They're there right now. And other of you are like, you just moved. You're literally relocating your whole family, or you're living with another family. I know some of you have moved in with parents to take care of them. Some of them moved in with siblings. Some of you are like just dropping work and starting a new life. And so all these things going on, which is awesome. You're feeling the pressure. So it's actually a really good thing.
Right. And I really want to point that out because our tendency is to avoid that kind of stuff. We're like, oh, that's uncomfortable. It's kind of ugly. Like, let's avoid that. And even like with what Miriam was talking about, you set some goal and your mind is saying, that's not possible. I can't do that. And we don't like that, but in reality, that's a good thing, because that's basically kind of this idea. Like, you're now seeing where your leaks are. You're seeing where your negative thoughts are. And because you've identified them now by setting some big, scary goal, now you have the opportunity to work on changing those. So it's a good thing that that's happening. It's a good thing that you're having these negative thoughts, because as we go through this growth process, that's essentially what we're doing. Like, you're not going to advertise that because nobody wants that thing. You know, hey, we will help you discover all of your weaknesses and pain points. You know, that's not what people want to sign up for. You want to create your dream life. That's what you want. But as you go through that process, what you actually end up doing is discovering all your weaknesses and pain points, because you have to identify them before you can overcome them, and you have to overcome them to create the life you want and achieve the goals you want. So it's kind of this challenging.
So this isn't the most popular idea, but you guys, does it make sense? Like, for some of you, our invitation is going to feel kind of challenging and painful, and you're going to want to resist it. But I guess I want to frame this up by, like, sometimes when you feel so overwhelmed and crazy and you can't do any more, the one thing you need is to add something to your schedule. And you're like, you guys are crazy. Now, that's not true for everybody.
Now,
some of you are going. You're like, you know what? You need some recovery time. You need to drop some stuff, and you need some recovery time. You need some self-care. And so it's going to be different for every situation. But there's going to be times when, like, yeah, I'm with all my love and a big bear hug, I'm going to ask you to step it up.
Well, and it's just as a kind of a side note, it's interesting to realize, like, where we are in life right now. I would have never even dreamed that it would be possible to do all the things we're doing. I would have just been like, there's no way, there's not enough time. But as you improve your ability and increase your ability, you increase your ability to do more things. And so doing more things isn't necessarily a bad thing. What the bad thing is, if you're doing more than you can handle, in that if it's crushing you, that's a bad thing. You have to be able to increase your abilities enough so that doing more doesn't crush you. Not that it's necessarily easy, but it's challenging enough that it's, a little bit hard, but your abilities are enough that you can rise to the challenge, I guess. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Hey, everyone in the chat real quick, throw the number of children you have in there, just so we all get to know each other real quick. 6, 4, 2, 6, 6, 4, 3. Awesome.
Sweet.
So, and you remember 0 planning on 5. Yeah. Wow, Emily, go for triplets first shot. Let's see how that goes. But you all remember when you started out single, and then you get married and you're like, oh, there's so much extra stuff here, married. And you're like, we're so busy. And then you have one kid and you're like, the sky is falling. How can I handle all of this? Right. And then,
Miriam had triplets.
What? You did triplets? Oh my gosh. Okay. Kudos to you. So she looks at all the rest of us and you're like, hey, you only gave birth to one kid. Like, what's your deal? Right. And now looking back, when you have, those of you have 3, 4, 5, 6 kids, you look back and you're like, remember when we only had 2? It was so easy. 2 was easy. And my roommate, he was one of 15. And I'm sure his mom, who was amazing, she was such a champ. She'd probably look at us and be like, 7? I remember when I had just 7. I was like nothing, right? And it's just this development we learn and grow. I
think that's a perfect analogy to what we're talking about, because that happens with parenting, and we all get that. But it can happen with anything else in our life. Like, that exact principle can occur with making money, or improving your relationship, or anything else you want to do. It applies across the board.
Love it. Okay, so let's, I'm going to ask one more kind of hit home question, and then we're going to give you some strategies for today. So number one, look back at the list of the things you wrote down, the things that are super important right now you need to focus on. Now I want you to evaluate how the pace. Are you happy with the current pace that you are making in that direction? Does that make sense? So say your thing is, I want to create an income. Are you happy right now with the pace that you're moving towards that thing? Maybe it's your family culture, maybe it's your health and fitness. Are you satisfied with the current pace you're taking?
If it's Greg Denning, then it's no, never.
As you guys are getting to know me, like I have two speeds, and one's like rocket fast and the other one's asleep.
Fern says, no, not moving towards it at all. 1 step forward and 3 steps back.
Okay. And man, Fern, we get that.
Oh, wait, I missed that one from Mary. 3 kids in 14 months. Whoa.
Whoa. Okay. You guys know the.
That's practically true.
Exactly. Oh man.
I seem to be able to do well in the area of health or business, but not both at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Because they demand so much attention.
Mm-hmm.
So you got, again, and this is literally what we're talking about today. How do I get things done? Because like, I'm focusing here, and all of a sudden like, oh, there's an emergency over here, urgency. And so I shift my focus, and now this thing gets neglected, right? So how do we make that happen where we keep getting things done? Kathleen Snow, but I'm grateful we're finally moving in the right direction. Yes, love that. And can I say something for those of you who might feel like you might feel like you've been walking down the wrong path for a long time. Anybody felt that before? Like you have this moment, you're like, oh, we've been going the wrong way for years, right? And you maybe you made a bad decision or something. We've done that multiple times where we'll go gung-ho in the wrong direction. And it feels so hopeless. And you may not be able to change destinations overnight, my friends, but I promise you can change direction in a moment. And so just like Kathleen's saying, hey, like we may not be where we are making the pace we want, but at least we now know we're facing the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who are starting over with work or life or family or whatever, if you're starting over and you now know you're facing the right direction, take heart in that and celebrate that. And we're here to help you and cheer you on and getting where you want to go. All right. Ready? You guys ready? Ready for some fire hose? Okay, let's get this done. Here we go. To make progress in any area of your life, we're going to give you the 3 P's. Ready? 3 P's. Number 1 is your project. Okay. And we're going to have you identify projects. You may want to just write down these 3 things real quick, and then we'll kind of give you some steps under each one. So your project, your people, and your priorities. Those are the 3 P's. Project, people, and priorities. Is this the latest comment?
Yeah, that's so from Fern saying, yeah.
Big problem is that if I work on biz while my kids are up, good luck with that. That's just the recipe for
neglect them and chaos ensues. Yes.
So then I stay up late to get my work done.
My life for a long
what
time.
Rachel does,
Mm-hmm.
and I neglect my health.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find the time for everything. So yeah, we'll help you find systems for that. Okay, so projects, people, priorities. Let's start with projects. Can you take the thing you want, your mission right now, your focus, can you break that into projects? So I know Miriam said there was like 4 things, and most of you had like 1 or 2 or 3 things. Can you actually turn that into a project? Even family culture. Okay, so like Aaron, yours was about a family culture of disciplined people, right? Can you see that as a project? And by say that, I say like, what are maybe 4 or 5 big things that you know need to be happening to move this project forward? Does that make sense, you guys? I want to make sure I'm articulating this well enough that like you're like, oh yeah, I got that. Can you see what you want to do as a project and identify the big things that need to be happening? Do any of you ever take essential oil pills and then you just burp all your oil pills? Sorry, I'm like having the oil burps. Sorry. Random side note for you essential oil lovers. Like, okay, sorry. So projects. So take a minute right now and you ask questions. If you're like, I'm not sure about this, ask questions. We can kind of mastermind this together. But I want you to take at least your most important thing. Maybe you can do the other ones later, but take your most important thing, your number one, and identify some projects, some big things right now that have to happen in order to move this forward. So everyone just do that and we can share some. Oh, good. Okay, Miriam. So how do I break emotional mastery into projects? Ooh,
yeah, I think let's give some examples. I find this kind of a useful way to view life, because essentially that's kind of what we're doing in whatever it is we're trying to work on or make progress in. That becomes a project. And so if you can view it as a project, then you can start picking out the next action steps. You can kind of track it and manage it. It's a way of taking more of an abstract idea like this, emotional mastery, and turning it into something more
actionable,
concrete and actionable. Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest values of something of a little thinking task exercise like now that we're doing is like, how do I take this and make sure I have action steps? Yeah. Because what most of us do, you guys, I don't know if you can relate to this, is you're like, man, I want to get better at that. Like, I want to get better at that. And like,
I'm going to get, and that's all we do. I'm going to get better at that. And then,
but we literally don't know like what's the next step. How do I do that? Right. That? So here's just one example. I actually did what? I did a course on teaching our children emotional mastery.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And I break down the whole thing in there.
How about we throw that in there as a bonus? I'll add
that in. We love you guys. So we're going to throw that in, okay? Teaching your children emotional mastery. That's one of the biggest ones. Miriam, have you read the book, The Untethered Soul? Yes, you have? Yeah, okay. So here's what I would do. I'm just going to throw this out there as one example. I would grab a book like this, like The Untethered Soul, and my task number one is 15 minutes a day in The Untethered Soul. Boom. My input.
I got some stuff.
Oh, it's coming now. Rachel just got up. Watch out. So I would say, for me, task number one, I'm getting great input. Every single morning, I'm resetting my emotion. And like I'm choosing my emotion, right? For the day, we've taught you guys that about the 28-day challenge, which is happening again in just a couple days. Boom.
Yeah, we're starting again if you guys didn't see.
So I'd choose my emotion each morning. I would set my alarms for the emotions I want to have, right? And so I've got alarms going off and I still have my alarms going off. If you guys have turned off your alarms, turn them back on, people. Like make sure you have an alarm going off at least 3 times a day with the emotion or the characteristic or the mindset you want. You've got to have that constant reminder in front of us because what we're getting every day, we're getting bombarded with the wrong emotions. Can I throw a little bonus material in here on emotional mastery and mindset? You guys stop watching the news, please. I'm going to throw that out. It may not be popular. Literally remove it from your life. And if you're skeptical, if you're like, come on, I need to know what's happening. Like if you're skeptical, try a 30-day fast. Okay? For all of April, no news. Just try it. Watch me. Watch what happens to your emotions. When I coach people, I'm like, we eliminate that stuff from their life. And like this transformation happens in their mindset and their emotions. So I would get that. That'd be on my task list of going through that each day. And then he walks through on how to identify what he calls the roommate. You guys remember that? If you've read this book, he says the voices in our heads are like this crazy roommate that just says all this crazy stuff. And we just believe what they say. But when we detach ourselves from the voice and we realize, wait, I'm not the voice, I'm hearing the voice. And the voice says stupid stuff like, that'll never work out. There's no way you can do that. You're not good enough to do things like that. Who do you think you are? And you just sit there and you look at the voice and you're like, I don't like what you say, voice. You just kind of let it go.
Well, and then that's what I wanted to get into was, so yeah, definitely do that. Read from something that helps you in that process. But then I have specific actionable things that I do on a daily basis to help me. And when you're talking about emotional mastery, I'm assuming you're also meaning mindset because I think they're connected. So one of the things I do is something called like truth and lies, or even like mind bullies, you could call it that, and then power statements. So I have a sheet like this, which I can put in the resources. And basically what you do is you, like you're talking about right there, where you set some goal and then immediately your mind's saying, oh, you can't do that, or that'll never happen. You literally write that down as like a lie. So essentially you could do this with any piece of paper. Just on one side is the lie, on the other side is the truth. You write down that lie, and then you rewrite it as a new truth that you want to believe. And once you do that with a page, then you literally would like rip the one side off, the lies, and throw them away. And then you would hang this up, the truths, and you would read them like 2 or 3 times every day.
So they now become your affirmations or your declarations.
So now anytime those thoughts come up, you don't just listen to it. You say, nope, this is the new truth. And of course you feel like that's the lie, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. You just keep repeating it until you actually believe it. So that's something I will still do on a daily basis. If I have some negative thoughts that come in my mind about something, like, oh, you're not going to be able to figure that out, or that's not possible, or you can't do that. We've tried that before. It didn't work. All of those things I write down, and then I rewrite into a new power statement of saying, yeah, I can do this. I can figure it out. I will do it. And then I have some hanging up right over there on my wall. I will read them every day. And then I will continue going through that process, because you'll eliminate some, and then of course new ones come up, like we're talking about. This whole process is about revealing all those negative beliefs and thoughts and feelings. And so I just go through that in an ongoing way. Another idea is that—
Can I pause here for a second? I'm going to say this with just all the love I can, but like kind of as a coach right now. If I could sit down with every one of you, each one-on-one in 10 minutes, I would know exactly what's holding you back. I just asked a couple of questions, and I could find the emotion or the mindset that's stopping you from going where you want to go. I could identify the thing that's been that stumbling block, right? And every one of us, myself included, I can identify, like, wait a minute, if I've wanted something but I don't have it yet, it's because there's something blocking me, and I have to identify that. And so sometimes we think, oh, this mindset stuff oh, come on, just tell me what to do. But even in doing it, we have to find out what's stopping us from really going after it, like at jet speed. And I can do that. So I want you to identify these things, make sure you're clear on what they are, and really focus on replacing them.
Because that really is the truth. Like, ultimately, the only thing that's keeping us from what we want is our own selves. Like, we are keeping ourselves from the things we want. And as soon as we can get out of our own way, then they literally like just flow into your life. As soon as we can get out of the way, meaning, all those negative thoughts and emotions and feelings that are saying it's not possible, as soon as we can get those things out of the way, it's almost like those things just flow into your life. So anyways, another similar idea to the truth and lies is you can even do it in a journal. You can get one journal that's like the black journal, the bad journal, and you can write down your negative thoughts. And this is a way of it's kind of different because you're not throwing it away, but it's a way of capturing your negative thoughts so that almost you can release them from your mind and be like, okay, I had this thought, I'm writing it down. You're now captured. I don't need you anymore. You're done. And I put this away, and it can now be gone. It doesn't have to be a part of your life anymore. And then the other journal would be
your philosophy journal.
Like your philosophy journal, where you're writing down all of the things that you want to be the basis of your life, the foundational philosophy of your life. Where's your philosophy journal?
I'll go get it.
So those are a couple of different strategies. There's also, and I think what I'll do is I'll add a bunch of these into the resources section with some worksheets so that you can use them, because there's a few other ideas of things that I will do. Obviously, you guys are probably aware music is a good tool to help you. Like you're essentially trying to get yourself in the habit of feeling good and positive on a regular basis. Because if you're trying to move forward, you're trying to create new things in your life, like you need to start feeling good on a regular basis. Like you need to improve the level of your emotions. They need to raise up.
Love
because
it. So I just got to take evaluation right here. So on a scale of 1 to 10, everybody throw in the chat box, scale of 1 to 10, how excited were you to start your day today? How motivated and driven and ambitious were you to start your morning? Just honest, all out honesty here.
I think it's probably a 7.
I was like a 2 this morning, which is rare. Usually I'm a 10. Okay, you got 4s, 5s, 3, 7.5, 4. Slept in. So did I, Fern. I went back to bed, man. I was not. 3.
8. Nice.
8.
Good
Nice. Job. Nice. Baleen woke up on fire this morning. Okay.
This
4.
girl is on fire.
Okay. So look at that. Probably 2 to 3. Feeling real tired.
The next question would be, is that normal?
Yes, that's where I was going.
Is that a normal number for you on a regular basis? That would be the next question. You don't necessarily have to answer, but
yeah, you can't answer this safe place. But so that's the next thing is like, okay, is that pretty
average?
Is that average? Like, look at the last week. Okay, well, we're Thursday today. Look at all week this week. Have you been in that same range all week? Yeah. Some of you are gonna be like, well, let's see. I've been in this same range since 1997, right? Like, and so we have to be aware of that. Does that make sense, you guys? We gotta have some awareness here. Like if every morning you're waking up and you're like, dang, another day. And we've been there.
Or Stacy, how am I gonna get everything done today?
Yeah. And Stacy and all of you, if that is your very first thought every morning, we gotta switch that up.
Mm-hmm.
And part of getting things done is you wake up, right? And let's go with that idea. Stacy, if that's okay, let us go with that idea. You literally come into consciousness, you run to the bathroom, then you come back and you're like, ugh, how am I going to get everything done today?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You stop immediately. You grab your journal, you grab your piece of paper, and
write
you're
that
like,
down.
Okay, I'm going to write that down. How am I getting everything done? I'm feeling stressed about getting everything done. Whew. Okay, it's on paper. I'm okay. Here's the things I have to get done. The list starts going. Your mind starts playing this list, right? Does this happen for you guys? The mind starts going through the list. Bum, 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 bum. Does it happen for women and men, or more women than men? Aaron, does it happen to you, man? And you other guys that are here, do you guys get the list in the morning? I know the moms do. So like literally write down your list. This is actually a proven strategy from research. I read all this research on it.
I would first write down the negative thought, then I would turn that around. And something I still tell myself every day, I have more than enough time to do all the things that matter most to me.
Beautiful.
Right? I have more than enough time to do all the things that matter the most to me. Now, that doesn't mean I'll get everything done, but that's okay because that means they didn't matter the most to me that day. And then I'll make the list and then I'll prioritize it. Yeah. I actually am constantly working from lists, which this is another strategy I think I will teach at another time, but I'm constantly working from lists that are prioritized. In fact, I have an entire strategy so that I don't have things going around in my head all the time of all the things I need to do, because as soon as I think about it, I have a specific place where I write it down, and then I know it's safe and I'm not going to forget about it. If it takes less than 2 minutes, I do it right then. But if it's going to take longer than 2 minutes, I put it in one of my lists that are categorized according to like whether it's work or personal or when I'm at my computer or when I'm at the store or whatever. Like I have different lists. And then next time I'm at that place, I can check my list and everything's there that I need to do.
What we found in the research, and I've been studying this for a long time, is if you don't write the list down, your mind just keeps playing it over and over again.
And then you just keep worrying and stressing
and
yeah.
And it literally is disrupting your mind because it's just going list. And you're like, I'm trying to work on it. You're like, well, what about this? Blah, blah, blah. So let's see, Baleen, the list starts coming when she's trying to fall asleep at night. Same for Emily.
So I have a piece of paper. or on my phone next to my bed. And as soon as I think about something, I just write it down and I'm like, okay, it's
and you capture it, and it actually allows your mind to relax so you can either go to sleep or start your day. Like consistently. Man, great comments here. You're trying to catch all this. Graduates high school. So yeah, so Matt says normal for him. Emily's husband falls right asleep. So do I. I can lay down, boom, I'm out.
Greg's like,
right? Yeah. But in the morning, my mind will start going on the list, and I say, whoa, stop. And I'll actually make out a list on my phone or on a notebook, and then go back into my morning routine because I'm starting the day right.
Right.
And I'm working on my number one thing. So if this is important for you guys, actually, can I make some book recommendations for you bibliophiles? Ready? And we can help you through this stuff. But if you love books like we do, then we can help you through this too. So Aaron's saying, usually not for me, but with this new start, yes, there's a lot I'm hoping to get going. So there you go, right? You're getting fired up and you're like, no, I want to get things done. And so you're getting up and you're actually generating the list. Like, okay, I want to get these things done. What do I have to do? But with every one of you, got to have this list. So 2 great books I want to recommend are, one is called The Slight Edge. The Slight Edge, excellent book. And number 2 is called The One Thing.
Well, I actually have another one.
The One Thing will blow your mind because he's gonna help you get zeroed in on the most important mission or purpose in your life, and you do that one thing. The one thing.
The Slight Edge. You know what? I'll put links in there because I forget who the Slight Edge is. By.
The One Thing's by Keller. He started Keller Williams. His story is amazing. He built like the biggest real estate empire in the world. And he was like, how do I get things done?
Well,
how do I get other things done?
Another one of my favorites, Greg has not read it, but I have, and I love it. And it's called Getting Things Done. I think that's by Mark Allen. And it's actually I've had people who have read it and they've said, oh, it was so overwhelming because he literally has you go through this process of like David Allen, yeah. Of going through everything in your life, like literally everything in your life, every piece of paper, every project, every email, every file, and then organizing it all. And so it's kind of a very overwhelming process thinking about it, but I actually did that. And then he has this whole system, again, like I was talking about, where you have things categorized and different lists. And it is very effective if you can actually get yourself to go through the process.
So I don't know if that book would work for me.
I know.
So that's one of those books that may not work for everybody.
Right.
But if you're like, oh, that sounds like exactly what I need to do, then go for it. But some of you are like, yeah. And some of you are like, no, and you're like, well, you need that book. So it's not going to work for everyone. But those are some great books there. And we'll put links in. I brought back my philosophy journal. Let's touch on this. This is a leather journal I bought when we were in France. And in here it's my constitution for me. This is the life of Gregory Denning. And it's everything in here from health and fitness and mindset and relationships and love and service and finances and way of being. It's just the thoughts and ideas and quotes and philosophies that I want to be me. Like, this is the governing philosophy for the way I live life and how I do life, right? And who I am. And this, I go through this every single morning. Everything in the morning. So I don't have it really organized so much, Emily, as if I come across a thought or an idea that I'm like, yes, that has to be a part of my way of being in life, I write it in. Right. And so usually it's rare that it's a paragraph. Usually it's one sentence. Okay. Of like it's something about, let me, like, here's one. A quote I came across. I read a biography on Darwin and I came across a quote. It says, a man who dares waste an hour of time does not understand the value of life. Like, I love that. For me, that just resonates so much with me. Like, I don't waste time, because if I understand how valuable life is, I just can't afford to waste time, right? I show up every day. I do things in an extraordinary way, right? Here's one. Every day I inspire people to think differently. Yeah, I love that one. Right? A quote from Thomas Paine. The world is my country. All mankind are my brethren. And to do good is my religion. And on and on and on. But basically, what you're doing, you guys, you're creating your new philosophy. And you're capturing the things and just reintroducing that every single morning, the kind of way, the kind of person you want to become and the kind of life you want to live. Does that make sense? Is that helpful? Anyone? All right. So let's go back. There we go. So I'm telling you, it's like a fire hose with us, my friend. Sorry. Like, drink as much as you can.
Get used to it. Just get used to it.
Okay, let's go back to project people priority. So in your project, whatever it is, we kind of hit this tangent, but I think it was important. Identify in your project the 5 things that have to happen. Did the rest of you feel like you got some things identified for your project? Yeah, Baleen, mine is I'm awake, energized, and alive. And my kids know that literally since they were born, I've been telling them that. I'm awake, energized, and alive. I'm awake, energized, and alive. So now you guys, the funnest thing ever is to watch our teens. They are sharing that with their friends and they drill it into them. And now all their friends are saying it all the time. Every time they see me, hey, Mr. D, I'm awake, energized, and alive. I'm like, yes. Like they're just spreading it. And so they wake up and we wake up and we're like, oh, I don't feel good. I said it to myself this morning when I got up. I'm awake, energized, and alive. I'm awake, energized, and alive. So I got to show up to this meeting, right? And you drill these things in your kids' subconscious and your own. Okay, so projects. Make sure you have clear action steps on your projects, okay? If it's building the income, what are the next 5 things that have to happen to build your income? If it's getting healthy, what are the 5 things that have to happen for you to get healthy? Okay, and for those of you who are interested in that, this 28-day challenge is starting on the 1st in 3 days. My personal one's going to be all about health and fitness. So I'm going to share a ton of stuff that will help you if you're interested. Okay.
Friends asking about that quote. Which quote was it?
Darwin's quote. It's any man who dares waste an hour of life does not understand. Of time. Any man who dares waste an hour of time does not understand the value of life. Okay, so number 2, you guys, is people. Just kind of as a philosophical background here, none of us is an island. Like we all need people to help us achieve our goals and dreams. Even if they seem like really individual, we need support, we need help. So the question here is you need to list the people you need to reach out to today, no matter what. And then list the people who you need something to move forward from. So whatever your project is, what people do you need in your life and what help do you need from them? Does this make sense? So say, for example, you might be like, well, wait a minute, I just want to lose 10 pounds. I don't need other people. Oh, yes, you do. Okay, so in mine, if I'm getting healthy, I'm going to turn to Rachel and be like, babe, I need your help. Okay, do not buy my favorite snack and you keep it out of this house and hold me accountable. Okay. I'm literally going to go to each of your kids. Your kids are going to be your best accountability coaches. Okay. Go to every one of them and say, hey, if you catch me eating junk food or whatever, like you get I don't know, come up with something. They will be on you like hounds on you. They're like, hey, don't do that, Dad. Don't do it, Mom. Or they're on you. And so like, I need people to help hold me accountable, to cheer me on.
And we do this all the time because we need help from each other to work on our goals, and we need help from our kids. And we will literally tell our kids what we're working on and what our goals are and explain to them like, hey guys, we really need your help because this is what we're trying to do. And we kind of try to get them like in the vision of it so that they are also like, yeah, that's awesome. We want to do that. So we're going to support you. We're going to help you. Like right now, I've really moved into, the position of doing all the marketing and the copywriting and what is your phone doing over there? For our business. And so I really have needed Greg's help and the kids' help. And we've talked to them and be like, hey, Mom's no longer doing the dishes. She's no longer doing the laundry. She's no longer doing all of these things because this is the goal we're working on and we need your help. And they'll be like, okay, Mom, yeah, I'll help you out. I'm willing to do the laundry. I'm willing to do this and that. So that
Like it's
I don't have to worry about it.
It's
Now,
the-
that doesn't
it's
mean
the-
it gets done perfectly. I gotta
right.
say
So
that.
yeah, and Rachel's like, oh, I wish I'd do this better. So then it's not the quality you want, but like every time we bring our kids in the game and explain what we're doing, they buy in. They're like, we will totally help with that. And whatever
And they
family
do.
goal,
They
like guys,
help
as a
out a
family,
lot.
like this is what we want to do. And we'll sit down, we'll say, what do you want to do as a family? Boom. Okay, this is what we want to do as a family. What do each one of us need to do to make this happen? And they all take on this task and assignment. It's so awesome. And so I can't remember who it was. One of you, was it Fern or Stacy? One of you were like, like, well, no, I'm trying to work, but then I stay up late, and so I neglect my health. Maybe I think it was Fern. Like, and so like it's either kids or work. And the way to tackle that is like, hey kids.
Well, and it depends on the age of your kids. If they're all small.
Have your 5-year-old cooking meals. They may not be awesome. But like what people do you need? And you may need to reach out to some of your siblings or some friends. You might need to reach out to somebody who like has a superpower in something you need, right? Or you like, who do you need to reach out to and what do you need from them? Does that make sense, you guys? We good on that?
Because, we've been there, and I felt that struggle of trying to do everything, but not being able to do everything. And I think you literally have to, at some point, decide what it is you need to focus on, and then get help, either outsourcing if you can pay for it, or get help from other people who are willing to support you so that they can help, because you can't do everything. You really can't. I can't do all the dishes and laundry and everything else and build our business.
But let's have a moment of honesty here. How many of you are moms or dads who like have this badge of honor of doing everything? And you're like,
well, I'm
right?
gonna bring this up right now. I think it's a very American culture thing that we feel like parents have to do all of that stuff or else they're bad parents. Like if you're not doing it's very interesting because again, we've lived in a lot of different cultures, especially American culture, but Western culture in general. Like we have this idea that, especially moms, but sometimes just the parents have to do everything. Like they need to be managing the house. They need to be doing all the chores. They need to be taking care of the kids. Like they have to be running them everywhere. Where most other cultures have some sort of help. Either they have the family that shares the burden, so the grandparents are there, or the aunts or uncles, they're all like living together and helping each other out, or they are hiring help. They don't do it all. They don't clean their house or whatever it is. Like they are getting help to do all of those things. But I feel like our culture is very isolating in that because even the way it's set up, we have one house with one nuclear family, and the parents are in charge of everything that happens there. And there's literally just too much when you're trying to do yard work and keep the house in some sort of functioning order and do the grocery shopping and the menu planning and the everything. It's just not realistic. It's really not the way it's supposed to be done. And even in American culture, it's only until the last maybe 100 years or less that we've started saying that, the nuclear family has to do it all by themselves.
Yeah. Because
before that, it wasn't like that. So you can't do it all. That's the truth of it. So you have to decide what it is you want to do, whether maybe you want to do the house cleaning, great, do it. Maybe you want to do the homeschooling. Maybe you want to do the meals, whatever. If not, then you need to find a way to outsource that, whether you outsource that to your kids,
you train them
or you hire someone, or I've known people that will literally give stuff to teenagers in their neighborhood in exchange for doing their laundry or something like that. Like you have to start getting creative. And again, you might have that negative voice of like, oh, there's no way I could do that or figure that out. It just won't work. But once you start looking for it, this is what I found. Once you start looking for that opportunity, saying, well, how could I do this differently? Or how could I outsource this? Or how could I get my kids to do this? Then you start finding answers, because you don't find the answers until you start asking those questions.
And don't listen to the negative voices of people that are like, oh, when I was bad, I did it all myself. What's wrong with no. Like don't go
it's
there.
just,
Like
it doesn't have to be that way. Baleen.
I know my 10-year-old said
I only
tells
had
me
kids to do my chores. Of course.
that's right.
Just
Like,
kidding.
and some of you may want to have more kids if you need more helpers around the house.
Except it's more work before it.
That's true. It's a lot more work for
Help.
like 5 or 8 years, maybe
Or 10.
16.
15.
For instance, I feel the pressure. Take care of the kids, have a spotless
Mhm.
house, homeschool, healthy cooked home meals, bring an income to it. Exactly.
Yeah, it's,
And you can't do it all. So figure out
you
what
have to get
people you
help.
need
So
to get
that's
help.
what that's what we're saying right here. You need to get help, and I think you should just get used to that idea that you need help, and that's okay.
And you want help and
And you
choose it.
want
Like,
help.
hey, I don't do everything. I do what matters most.
Yeah,
Boom.
I focus on the things I'm really good at, the things I really want to do, and that's okay. I'm going to get help in the other areas of my life. When we lived in Guatemala, which I wish we were, we had
Aaron, you can get a
we had a
full-time
full-time
help
maid.
for like
And
$250
she would-
bucks a month, man.
Yeah, she would come in and cook and clean,
Woo!
and I had time to work on our business.
And
Like,
she was so grateful to have
and
work.
you're giving them a
And
job.
they're
It's
part
like,
of our family. We just loved them, and like it freed
Yeah.
up time to work on other things. It was amazing.
so, right. Eve says lowering your
Yes,
standards.
Eve.
Yeah, right now my standards for cleanliness are lowered a bit because the kids are doing it. And, I'm training them and helping them to improve each week, but it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not like, hey, now you're in charge of laundry and it's done perfectly, or you're in charge of the bathroom and it's done perfectly. It's not, but
Can I share something kind of special on that note? My sister, who's just an angel of a woman, she has 6 children. 2 of them have very, very severe health challenges. One of them has 50, 60 seizures a day. The other one, they adopted from China, has to have surgeries all the time, major surgeries, and struggles to walk. And then she lost her husband. He passed away.
a while ago.
A while ago. Yeah, it's been
10 years.
No, I don't know if it's been that long, but she's carrying this huge load. And one time she said to me, she said, I finally realized that I can either go crazy or lower the standard and accept some chaos. She says, if I tried to hold to this high standard, being a single mom with 6 kids, like I'm going to go crazy because it's just not realistic. And so she's like, I just had to decide. Like, it'll be a little bit chaotic. Sometimes the laundry doesn't get done. Sometimes the dishes are piled up. Sometimes the house isn't clean. But that's okay because I've chosen not to go crazy. Trying to do it. And I was just like, oh, yeah. Like, there's time periods when you're like, okay, we're willing to let that slide because this is our priority. And so maybe that makes that, hopefully that's helpful for one of you or some of you. Okay, the last P, you guys. So we have projects. Make sure you have action steps. Every one of you should have action steps today. You know exactly what next things have to happen. Number 2, you know what people you need to help, and reach out to people today, okay? And this can be for any of your goals and all of your goals. Reach out to some people. Even there's some fun apps you can use. If you have a hard time following through with something, you know you have the bandwidth to do it, but you're not doing it, use the app Stick, STIKK. And you get in there and you actually have a consequence, and then you ask someone to be your accountability coach, and you lose $100 or something if you don't follow through, right, with your commitment. And so you get someone to be your accountability coach on the app, and every day you have to check in, like, yeah, I did it. I did my push-ups today. Oh man, I almost lost the money, right? And you're on it, and you get accountability. So get people to help you and support you, and hold you accountable. And you guys you're here doing this, and let's use each other, okay? We're already in this community. Let's support each other.
Well, and
answer questions and help.
the good thing about the challenge, okay? The challenge is starting again. You guys all get to be a part of it if you want. Hope you want to, but get your trackers out again and write down those things that you need to work on, those action steps for your projects and things, and turn those into us for the challenge.
Yep, just having that sense of accountability. It's awesome. Okay, and then the last 3 is your priority. So I want you to list down the priorities and the to-dos. And usually, sorry, essential oil problems here.
Oh gosh.
You prioritize what has to happen and why. And I want you to do it like this. Do it with a timeline. What has to happen this month? What has to happen this week? What has to happen today? Okay.
And I think this comes back to this idea of lowering your standards on some things and allowing some chaos and whatnot, because sometimes you're working on your goals because you've decided that's more priority than cleaning the house. And as moms, we hate that. We're like, no, but this needs to be done. It's got to be done. And I literally, sometimes I just have to like go through the house like, okay, I've got to do my priorities, my goals, and let some of these things go. And that's the only way to make progress on what you say is your most important things. Whatever you guys typed out there in the comments, like there's other things you're going to have to let go, at least for a little bit, to make some progress on getting these other things done. Because otherwise what we're doing is we're like, okay, well, we've got to do the dishes and the laundry and we have to pick up the kids and we have to do all these things. And so this other list never gets done, because believe me, you can always fill up your time with all these other things that have to be done. Always.
Or somebody
There's no
else's
end.
agenda.
Yeah.
People are always telling you, oh, I need this and I need this and I need this. And they're sending you messages and emails, and we get trapped in other people's agendas.
Mm-hmm.
And so before that happens, you have to get clear about these things will happen no matter what. And if the other stuff gets left undone, so be it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
And then that's when, like, I forget who it was that says, I start out thinking, oh, I'll never get everything done today. Maybe turn that around. I won't get everything done today. And that's a good thing.
But I'm going to get my most
But
important
I'm
things
going to
done.
get my most important things done today. And everything else, I don't have to. And that's fine. Be okay with not getting everything done.
Oh, yeah. Okay, last thought.
Even though it still bothers me sometimes.
Right, and it does, and it's annoying, but like you realize this is just a phase. It's a time period, and like we want to have it all done, but sometimes, I guess this goes right with my last thought. How much does this matter to you? Okay, if the thing you wrote down is your priority, if your life depended on it, could you figure out a way to get it done? I'm serious. If your life depended on it, if I said to you, Mary, your life depends on hitting your number one goal. You have to do it. Are you going to figure out a way to do it? Yeah, you're going to nail it, right? Or I love to do this with my kids. They come in, they're like, I can't do it, Dad. I said, what if I paid you $10,000? Could you figure out how to do it? And they're like, oh yeah, I would do this and this. I mean, exactly. Like, it's a motivation, man. Like, what if it's online? What if this was worth $10,000? Could you figure out a way to do it? Of course you could. And guess what, guys? It is worth $10,000 to you. More. Some of you are going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars because you're making shifts in your life right now and starting a new business. And for some of you, your life depends on it. Maybe not life and death, but like quality of life.
Lifestyle.
Doesn't your lifestyle depend on it? Right? Don't you all have dreams? And your dreams are on the line. Like I'm a little bit in your face right now. Like, your dream is on the line. What are you going to do about it? When are you going to take this seriously? Because there's all kinds of things that I'm like, I would love to do that. Ooh, I want to do that. I would love to do that. But I never said, you know what? Okay, it's on the line. Do it or else. You cross the Rubicon. You guys know that story of Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon? The night he crossed the Rubicon, once you cross the Rubicon, the rule was in Rome, if any army crosses the Rubicon to threaten Rome, it's immediate death. So he knew that night, that morning, he actually stayed the night on one side, then the next morning he crossed. He knew once he crossed that river, it was conquer or perish. They either won or they all died. Every one of them would have been executed. So we have to cross the Rubicon and say, you know what, we're doing this. How much does it matter to you? And when you're willing, when it matters that much, and you draw the line, you write out the date, and you say, this is going to happen. It has to happen. Whoa.
I do want to say something about that.
Then you get things done. Okay, go ahead, babe.
You know my approach on this, because you said write out the date. And I was going to mention this earlier when Miriam was talking. I'll mention it now. So that is an approach, and I think that works for Greg, to set a date that you're going to achieve your goal.
It works. Just do it.
Stop. You agree with my
I
approach.
do, yeah. No, I don't. But you should share it anyways.
It's not just my approach. I've heard it though, different ways. It is my approach, but
from people who
I've
don't
heard
get
it from
things
other
done.
people. No,
I'm just kidding. I'm
whatever.
just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Go.
Stop with your negative talk. There's another way to do this, especially if you have because he's talking about setting a goal for a date for the goal that you want to get done and the date you're going to achieve it. But there's another way of doing it, which you have to decide if it works for you. And that is, instead of setting a end date, you set a start date. And the reason this can be helpful is because I know sometimes we set this date of I'm going to accomplish this, but we have all these negative thoughts and things and not sure how it's going to happen. And then if that date comes and we didn't reach our goal, then it's almost like this added weight of failure. Like, see, proof it didn't happen. And so I like to do it the other way, where you set a start date and say, okay, I'm going to make this goal happen as soon as possible. And then now the danger here is that you can then be like, well, whatever, I'll just work on it whenever. Like, you have to still take it as seriously as if you had a deadline and work on it with the intensity. But then if you don't reach it by a certain date, it's not a failure. You just keep working on it until you reach it, however long that takes. Like, whether that takes a month or a year, depending on what you need to learn and how much you need to grow and how much your mindset needs to change and all these other things. Like, you just reach the goal as soon as you can. So that's just something I like to throw in, because sometimes, and I have done this before, like there was a time when I set a big goal and I didn't reach it in the time I said, and I felt like I'm a failure. Like, I can't do the things I say I'm going to do. I can't reach my goals. And so it became this big negative instead of a positive. And sometimes, and that was the point. Like, even though I had made progress, like I'd made progress, significantly more progress than if I hadn't have set the goal, I still felt like a failure because I didn't reach it by the date I said. Instead of saying, oh, well, I've made progress, now I'll just keep going.
Which is a mindset thing, because that's what I did. During that time, I was like, dang, we busted our tails. We worked hard. We made significant progress. So cool. All right, we didn't hit the exact thing, but cool, we did it.
We did.
I guess the point here is just take it seriously. So today, what are you going to do today? For some of you, it's like, I will not drink another soda today. And tomorrow you wake up and say, I will not drink another soda today. For some of you, it's going to be like, you know what? I'm sending out that email, or I'm going to go talk to that person about the new employment situation, or I'm
going to work on my product.
Yeah, I'm creating my product
value ladder.
Or I'm going to sit down today and I'm writing out jobs and tasks for the kids. Do this thing. Or today I'm sitting down as a family and every one of us is going to give our input on how we're going to create a new culture around being super disciplined.
Should I share job charts for kids? Anyone want those? Because I could share those too. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. I'll share some job charts.
Okay, so we'll share that. Yeah, everyone, throw your one thing in today. Let's do this real quick. Everyone throw your one thing in today. So Eve wants to organize projects and lists. Love it.
Okay.
Sit down with hubby, take action steps on how to get out of debt. Love it. Like, what does that look like? What's a track? And Fern, go big on that. Like, what can we stop spending money on to go there? And how can we generate some more money? Like, what can we do literally in the next 60 days to generate thousands of dollars? Like, think big on this.
Well,
like, open up.
We've talked about this before, I think, but I'll mention it again, is the idea of doing the 12-week year. Do you guys remember that? Basically, it's the idea that instead of setting like 1-year goals, take that big 1-year goal to get out of debt or whatever and say, how could we accomplish that in the next 12 weeks? And you move it up, because this guy that wrote the book, The 12-Week Year, I don't know where it is, but his thing was all these businesses would set 1-year goals, and then they would kind of like procrastinate on making any progress. And it wasn't really clear, like, well, what's the next action steps to do this in a year, and blah, 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 blah. And then they would end up achieving the goal in the last 12 weeks of the year because, oh, now the deadline's coming up. Oh, we better start working. Hurry, let's do it. And then they did it in 12 weeks. He's like, why not just move that up? And so you set 12-week year goals every 12 weeks. And again, same idea. If you don't accomplish that goal within the 12 weeks, well, fine, just keep going. But the idea is to change the way you think about achieving your goals. Instead of saying, and Greg does this all the time to people. They're like, oh, in 10 years, I want to do this. He's like, well, what if you could do that in a year, you know? And then same thing, same ideas. Like if you want to do something in a year or 2 years, well, how could you do it in a year or 6 months? How could you do it in 12 weeks? And you start thinking differently when you start asking questions like that. Like you start thinking differently, and you start realizing that, okay, yeah, we could make progress. Plus, besides the fact that when you do that, every day becomes important. You have to take action every day if you're going to achieve your goal in 12 weeks. There's not a day you can miss. You can't afford to waste a day. Anyways.
Love it. Awesome. Okay, great stuff coming in here, you guys. I love your commitments. This is awesome. Yeah, getting computer set up, write down actions about eating healthy, talk to husband, journal for truth and lies.
Awesome.
Stacy's like, man, I feel like I don't have any extra time to work on anything today because you're preparing to teach a live class for the business tonight. So get ready for that. Focus on working with intention. Yeah, whenever you sit down to work, like you're super intentional. And stay healthy, do 50-10s, right? You work 50 minutes, take a 10-minute break, drink some water, do some stretching, little exercise, dancing around, works big. Yeah, 12-week goals. Truth and lie with your son. I love that, Eve. That's awesome. Keep going. Finish prepping online ESL interview for tomorrow. Start saying flow, move towards becoming a debt-free. Love it.
Yeah, I like that with Fern.
Making a list of people and priorities. Help with getting a business progressing towards our goal. Fantastic. Okay, now we're going to come full circle. The very first thing we started with today was successful people make and keep commitments. So we've all made some commitments today. I want you like integrity on the line. Like this is you. Your integrity is on the line. Commit to one of these things you know you can do and do it.
And because you said you're doing it today, I want you to post in the Facebook group when you've done it today.
Oh yeah. So pick your thing. Even if your day is crazy and you need to pick something small, just pick something today. Or like
Stacy, you're gonna drink your water and work with intention. Yeah, when you've done that, post it in the Facebook group.
Yeah. So like just and you guys, the more often we make and keep commitments, the stronger we get, the more excited we get, and we're gonna be able to make bigger and bigger commitments and keep them. Okay. So again, big thing today. Keep a commitment, make it and keep it. Keep that thing no matter what, like no matter the cost, you keep that thing, right? You with me? Oh, I love
There's something I was going to say earlier. I think I'm going to say, back to Miriam's thing about, like that we set big goals and we don't believe that we can achieve them because we don't see how we can achieve them. One part of that is just like this. It's the baby steps. It's the small steps. It's making and keeping small commitments. The other side of that, though, is we've talked about the idea of writing new stories. Are you guys familiar with that? You write a new story for yourself. And when you set a big goal, you're essentially creating this new story. Like you're basically saying, this is what I want in my life. And it's way out there and I don't know how I'm going to do it. And it seems big and impossible. But when you have that out there, you're literally like giving your brain something else to focus on, a new reality that you want to create. And as you keep focusing on it through, truth and lies, vision boards, if you actually write it out as a new story, like I am doing this and, we've talked about that. You write out this new story. And as you keep doing that day after day, then what? Yeah, it's creating new beliefs, new feelings, but it's also literally like bringing that thing towards you. As you keep telling yourself, this is what I'm creating, like it's bringing it closer to you. And as it gets closer to you, that's when you're going to see the action steps. You may have no clue until it gets closer, but it will only get closer as you keep telling your brain that this is what's coming. This is what I'm creating. I'm creating that extra $1,000 a month or whatever it is. Like, and you look at it on your vision board, you tell yourself the story, and the more of these different elements you can use, the better, of course. You feel the emotion of that, what that would feel like, and you keep going through these processes, and you're literally bringing that closer to you. And then one day, you're going to be like, oh, I know what to do. I know what step to take. I know what action. I know this, and the pieces start to fit together. But it's only as you go through the process of bringing it closer to you through your affirmations and your vision boards and all those things that you can actually then see the action steps sometimes. So I just want you to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and what Eve just said here, affirmations bring a flow of new input and ideas.
Yes,
it's crazy and powerful.
absolutely.
A while ago we said the brain will begin finding solutions. You should ring true with me. It does. It works. Mm-hmm. So you guys, we are here to cheer you on and help you. If you have questions to ask, we're here to support each other. We're all in this group together to live intentionally, deliberately, hit new goals. Like, I love this stuff. I live for it. Rachel and I just live for this and celebrating with you as you make new achievements. Even if it's just baby steps in the right direction. We love it. And you guys got this. You got this, man. There's got the tools, the resources, the excitement, the dream. You're going to make it happen. So that's it for the training, but I'm willing to stick around for some questions. If any of you have specific questions about things, things you want to work on, things you want to help with, things that you maybe feel stumped with, we're happy to help with any of that if you want to stick around. If you need to take off, we got it. Thanks for being here. You're awesome. Examples, Tiffany saying, what are some examples of Denning family routines and culture? Okay. So we'll have to give a brief answer on that, Tiffany, because we've actually done long, thorough trainings on family culture and family routines. We started 8 years ago making tons of videos on family culture and routines. And there's lots of them. They're so good. But give some examples of routines and culture.
So we have our morning routines, of course. That's basically how it starts out. And then we encourage our kids to do morning routines. For some of them, in fact, I have charts, which I can share those with you for our kids. And again, it's never perfect. You go through ebbs and flows. But we are doing charts right now. We've done them before. And they have a little routine on there of what they're supposed to do in the morning. For the younger kids, it's, simple, get dressed and brush your teeth and, things like that. But we're trying to get them into the habit of starting off the day, taking positive action. With the older kids, it includes reading or scripture reading or, just different things. So then we come together.
That fits into the culture piece too, because we just set this up hey, every one of you should be learning a musical instrument every day. Every one of you should be learning a language every day. You should all be memorizing these quotes and poems together with us every day. We all do strenuous, hard things every day. We all exercise every day. I mean, it's just, that's part of the culture. And we've been intentional about just saying it to them again and again and again and drilling it into them. My kids know it. If you were to sit down with my kids and start talking to them for a minute, you'd see these things coming out just in their conversation and their actions, because they've been hearing it since they were born. This is just how we do life.
But then again, with this idea of being intentional, when we think about something we want them to do and we want to be a part of our family culture, then I work it into our chart or a part of our day or things like that. Because just like everything we've been talking about, you can't just be oh yeah, we want to do that or be better at that. I come up with a specific way to do that, and then I work it into our day. So memorizing, we'll do that during our morning devotionals. And, then they have a study chart, because we homeschool our kids. So then we have a study routine, and that's when they need to, do their instrument practice and reading and all these different things. Now, again, it's not 100% every day, and that's not really the point. The point is you have certain ideals, and then especially when it comes to the kids, your you're basically trying to teach them to take initiative. And we're saying like, hey, this is, the things you should be striving to do every day. And then it's up to them to make it happen. And then at the end of the day, I say, okay, how'd you do on your chart or whatever? Oh, why'd you miss this? What, and then we talk about it. And it's helping them to take charge of their life, because ultimately that's what we decided was most important when it came to education and character development. We thought the most important thing was that they could take charge of it themselves. So that doesn't mean it's always at the level we would want it to be, but we know that they are making progress wherever they are.
And owning as much of it
and
as they
owning
can.
it. Like they very much own their lives. They ultimately decide what they do with their life. They do. Our kids have a lot more autonomy and responsibility for their own lives than a lot of people do. And sometimes that results in bad decisions. I mean, our kids aren't bad. They don't do bad things, but bad decisions, meaning not the best decisions. And sometimes it results in really great decisions, and they get to receive the consequences.
They listen to their audiobook instead of
for 10 hours
reading the book.
instead of working on their studies.
Right.
Or they, and sometimes they'll be watching, I don't know, cooking videos for hours or something, I mean, that stuff happens, but
she's a great cook.
But
So,
ultimately, they are making the decisions, and
Yep.
then receiving either the natural consequences is how we work. They're receiving the natural consequences of those decisions.
And there's little
But
things
we're
you can
there.
do.
Sorry, we are there mentoring and encouraging them through teaching and devotionals and discussions, and then the chart saying, hey, as your mentors, this is what we think you need to be doing. And when they do it, we're like, yes, good job, way to go. And there's, it's also tied to money. So, if they do their charts, then they get their allowance. If they don't do it, then they don't, so that's all. There's also those in place.
Yeah, it's the family economy we taught you guys about, that they're always earning for it. So there's good incentives. And then Miriam say, well, how do you encourage them without feeling frustrated if they're failing? Like, you celebrate whenever you catch them doing it, man, you celebrate. Wow. Like when our kids are practicing their instrument or reading their books, when I find them reading, I'm just like, oh, you guys, I love this. I love this so much. Look, you're sitting here reading. This is so epic. The other day, the boys' door was locked. I'm like, what's going on in here? And I got in there, and my two boys were sitting there studying scriptures together. I was like, oh yeah, right, just awesome. Like,
now sometimes we've caught them doing, playing some video games or something too. So it's not always good, but when you catch the good.
Well, clarify, we don't have video games. They have
sneak little
something
app
on an
games
app or
something.
something. So we don't have a TV and we don't do video games. That's helped with culture. We buy books all the time, hundreds of books all the time, audiobooks and actual books. So again, you're facilitating
you really praise and emphasize the positive. Now you are going to feel frustrated if they're failing. Like, if we catch them playing the games instead, yeah, that's frustrating. But then for us, we just talk through it. We're like, hey, we've talked about.
Is this who you want to be?
Yeah, we've talked about what our family culture is about. We've talked about what we're trying to achieve and, all this. And is that helping you make progress towards those things?
Sweet.
Does that make sense?
Yep. So they want you to share your charts and stuff you're doing, so you can share all that.
Okay.
Emily's asking, so I really feel like focusing on my health, but I also want to focus on my business. Do I neglect the business to focus on the health? I think you guys I feel like personally, you can easily do health and business simultaneously, because you eat every day, and you should exercise a little bit every day if you can. And so that doesn't change anything. And if you're eating better and low exercise, it actually helps you be more productive and more focused. So I really feel like that's something you do simultaneously. You don't have to neglect it, because really what you're gonna do, Emily, is you're just shifting what you're eating. Like, that's, if I understand right, that's your big thing right now, is like, oh, I'm going to do a big shift here in eating. Well, you always shop anyways, and you eat anyways, and try to get in, 30 minutes of movement every day. That's all going to help you be more productive in business. So unless I'm misunderstanding something, I don't think that it's one or the other. I think that's something you could do simultaneously.
Even if it's not necessarily like where you would ideally want it to be, if you can at least have a bare minimum standard of like, okay, at least it's this type of eating habit and this amount of movement. If that makes sense. Like, you know, maybe you're not working out hard hour of cardio every day, but if it, again, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, because you could say, well, maybe I can't do it every day, but could I do it twice a week at least?
Yep.
And twice a week is better than nothing, right? And then on the days I'm not doing that, can I at least take 1,000 steps? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, is there some minimum you could at least do? And then I think for our family, as part of our family culture, like, we just have this bare minimum, well, it's kind of a higher standard of food. Like, we just don't allow, like, candy is not allowed in our house.
And when people give our kids candy,
we literally throw it in the garbage, and sometimes there's tears, but we just say, this is our family. Candy's not allowed in our house. Like, we allow them to make the choice about eating it when they're outside of the house, and we actually will pay our kids for not eating it. But if they choose to eat it, that's their choice, but it's not allowed in the house. We don't do white sugar. So we only have, you know, like cane sugar or honey or stuff like that. There's just certain things like that are standard, our dietary standards. And I think that overall has that maintains a level of health no matter what else is happening.
And that doesn't take any extra time.
It might initially, if you're trying to, make a switch.
One quick thing that helped with me, Emily, like, this was huge for me, and it's like one of my all-time favorite things. I want to study business every day, and so I listen to business audiobooks while I'm exercising. And another time I knew I had to think, I had to come up with ideas for presentations I was doing or projects I was doing. And I literally, before I walk out, I'd go walking. This was when we lived in the Dominican Republic. I had an hour walk along the beach every day. And before I walked out the door, I said, what topic do I need to think about today? And the whole time, my mind was in this business thing while I was walking. And so I was getting exercise and business progress every time, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So that's a habit I have that it's dual stuff.
Use it as thinking time or strategizing time while you are walking on a treadmill or something.
Love it.
Okay. Used a family economy with marbles. Take away things that aren't done or not done well, or just emphasize what goes right by rewarding with money. Sometimes, but I would say probably rarely do we take things away.
Yeah, that's really rare.
It's pretty rare. It's usually just taking away means, well, you didn't do it, so you don't get paid. Kind of. That's about.
That depends on what's in the house, though. If you do have a TV in your house and you find that TV watching is the big problem, if you find that they're watching these shows and that's literally what's keeping them from doing their stuff, then yeah, the TV goes away.
Then yeah, I would take that.
So if you find
same with the video games.
Yeah, if there's something they're constantly turning to that's stopping them from doing other important things, you're like, well, okay, we're going to remove that until like we get better habits in this, and then that can come in its proper place. We all operate by priorities here.
But you're talking about the money marbles. Okay. No, I don't think, I mean, we did a bean jar, like similar like that one time, but we usually don't. Yeah. Once they earn it, it's theirs.
Yeah, it's theirs. Yep. Because
now
we feel like that's a natural consequence. They did this thing, they get it. Cool. Now, if they don't do another thing, you're like, well, that's a separate consequence. We try to make it really relevant.
Sometimes I will charge them for something. So I'll charge them money because they'll be like, I don't know, they want to do something or whatever. Or maybe I will say, yeah, if you do that, I'm going to charge you for it.
Yeah. And that way they're paying us for something.
It's taking it away, but they're paying.
Like we're charging you for that.
Choice.
Yeah. So Baileen's saying Legos and drawing. See, and we love Legos and drawing. And
it depends on the age of your kids. When our kids were younger, so we use I was going to talk about the head gates again. We've talked about this before, but I'll talk about it again. So we use a strategy called head gates, and it's basically like if you have an irrigation ditch for watering crops or whatever, if you want the water to go in a certain direction, then you close one head gate and you open another. And so then the water automatically flows in that direction. So we use this strategy with our kids a lot. We've always used this strategy. And if you're homeschooling, I don't know if you are, but we would use it during homeschooling. We would say, okay, during homeschooling study time, these things are allowed and these things are not. Or bigger picture for our family, because, we're crazy extreme like that, is we use it in our lifestyle. Like head gates for us means we don't have a TV. So watching TV is not an option, or we don't have, an Xbox or whatever. There's certain things we just don't have in our life. So we don't have to worry about our kids spending too much time on them because they're not available. But back to like the Legos and stuff like that.
We would say from between 9 and 11, no Legos.
Yeah. If that's the challenge, say, okay, between 9 and 11, it's study time, as an example. I don't know if you're homeschooling. So that means no Legos, no whatever. You decide what it's not included, but it does include these things. And so you can choose. Now, there was a period of time, and probably even when our kids were 8 and 10, where we allowed Legos and drawing during school hours, because that was, especially depending on the personality of the kid. I mean, we've got one kid that he is very hands-on and like a builder, inventor, so Legos was like great for him because he was just.
So we would get like specific difficult Lego projects and things he would have to read
like
the instructions.
Lego Technics.
So he's sitting there reading and reading and reading, following all the instructions, doing all this stuff. Like we played to his strengths, and now he's 13. He's just killing it. The guy is. He's an amazing kid.
Make stuff, build
and
stuff.
He's just sharp. He's on it. So it was just this phase where he was like to sit
and now
down
they
and
don't
read
play with Legos as much, just because they can, and they do other stuff. So
yeah, Eve does play audio poems and books while Lego time. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys can play Legos,
or
you're listening to this awesome book.
Yeah.
That you're gonna love. Great classic.
Maybe make it conditionary on something else. Yeah, you can play with Legos, but we're gonna listen to this or something like that. So it just depends on what it is you want to do. And again, your big vision of what it is your homeschool looks like, your family culture looks like. I read a book by John Dewey years ago, and I think that's played a big part in my philosophy towards education, because his whole thing was, as long as your kids are actively engaged in something, they're learning. And so the point of learning is to be actively engaged, and the more you can have them actively engaged
in good things,
then the more they're learning. And so if you're doing school but they're not actively engaged, they're zoning out, well, that's actually less effective than them being actively engaged in drawing, if that makes sense. So as long as my kids were actively engaged in something that was requiring some sort of thought and involvement, because all of those it's all about thinking, and it is developing the brain, and it's requiring them to learn skills that they may not have yet. As long as they're actively engaged in that, I would usually allow it while they were younger. Yeah. Now that they are older, we have higher standards, for 12 and above, we have different standards, because for us, that's kind of like a scholar phase where now they're really going to dig into academics and things like that. So it's a little bit different, but while they're younger, active engagement was my go-to. So
huge. And audiobooks ideas, she asked in there, like I read, and so you could do audiobooks on this, but I read,
or you could read aloud to them while they're doing it.
I read the entire Narnia series to them. I read all 15 books of The Wizard of Oz to our kids.
There are 15 books.
I read all of the Little House on the Prairies, Betsy Tacy, all the Little Britches, like the Phantom Toll Booth. I mean, those are all books right there for that age range that those kids would just eat it up. Yeah. And they'd sit there playing and like, oh, I love this, and love the story time in the books. Then you could do like Ranger's Apprentice, or depending on where your philosophy is, like a Percy Jackson, or I mean, there's so many series like that they would get into at that age and just love it. And so they're drawing and building things, so they're getting tactile movement and getting the good input. So you're just capitalizing.
Yeah, and a lot of kids are like that. They need to be doing something in order to effectively learn. So
sweet. Okay, all right, we got to roll. Love you guys so much. You're the best. We are going to have like a in-person gathering one day at our chateau in France. So just start practicing your French, guys. And like just start gearing up for amazing French delicacies and awesome sauce. It's coming.
Awesome
We're going to get
sauce.
together. Yep. All right. Love you guys. You're the best. Thanks. Have a wonderful day. Take action on your commitments today and report on it in the group. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Reach upward.
Stop.
Stop. Yeah, stop.